right, man. Yeah, but you gotta relocate it.
Well,
You see, you gotta relocate it.
yeah.
I'm on Lafayette. On Lafayette Street.
Want to say good afternoon and once again welcome to an amazing conversation. In the studio with me is none other than, you know who she is. She is the Conscious Chick. Want to say good afternoon and how are you? Let me put this mic to you because, girl, I heard you've been screaming at the football game on Sunday and your voice gone.
That is not what happened.
That's not what happened?
That's not what happened, but it's real rough right here. We're going to make it through, though, in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name. Well, listen, those of you who are listening to the broadcast one time, holler out Jesus to help us because I got to get out of here in a few minutes. But listen, we are so excited to see what's going on in and around Tallahassee. Just a big note, shouts out to Coach Charlie Ward. I mean, they are absolutely doing it.
Well, I mean, he's bringing what he said he would. He's taking his time. He's working with his players and he's building a team. You know, I was listening to a motivational speaker that talked about the build over the blast. He was saying how people want to, they want to, what they call it, you play, what they say, you play, what's that word they use? Small. But people ain't playing small, they playing strategic.
Yes.
Right? And they're playing slow because they believe in momentum. And that's what he's doing. He's building momentum. And sometimes in this electronic age, we don't give ourselves time to build. We just want to bang. And so it's good that he's taking his time. He's building momentum. And he's working through challenges. And he's building a program and not just building a team. So that's exciting. Look forward to more of his impact and his influence on campus.
Absolutely. And certainly we definitely are excited about making sure that we can get him into the studio to talk about some of the great things that he has been doing and some things that
he and his wife
going on.
Tanja working alongside with
Absolutely.
him. Yeah, they got big things going.
Absolutely. Well, listen, there's so much going on in and around our city, and if we was to just put a pause on some of the highlight things, man, I tell you, it'll take away from this amazing show that we have today. So we don't even want to talk about what's happening in different communities, what's happening at the state, what's happening at the city. We want to talk about what's happening in Tallahassee. We're talking about Talking Tallahassee, and three amazing leaders in our community are inside the studio with us today, and so delighted to have them, Christy. And certainly we want to say for all of our listeners, thank God for these three, and there are going to be others joining us who are inside the communities, in the trenches, hey, making impact without having their names in headlines, because they know it's just so important to do what needs to be done to make our community better. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you. Part 2 of Talking Tallahassee, Building Community Trust and Authentic Engagement. Not an engagement ring now, but how to engage our community. It's on you.
Yeah, well, before we jump in, we want to thank our broadcast sponsor, KFR Roofing Solutions, a local, Black-owned, faith-rooted company that protects homes, families, and neighborhoods one roof at a time. If your roof needs repair, replacement, or inspection, call KFR Roofing Solutions, where excellence meets community care. Definitely grateful for their support and sponsorship of the broadcast. So today's conversation, and again, if you're hearing my voice, I know it sounds terrible, but we're going to make it happen. Regardless, and it's something near and dear, definitely to all of our hearts as we talk about community trust. And it talks about the slow build, right? It's not a bang, it's a build, and that's why authentic engagement matters, especially and particularly in communities, beloved communities of color. So, because too often decisions are made for those communities instead of with those communities. Real progress happens, and I've seen it when agencies sit and listen to, and not just listen to, partner, resource, help, and guide, accept guidance alongside leaders who have generational roots, credibility, and they have skin in the game. These folks have paved the way. They've been the connection when agency resource wasn't there. Some of them have paid the light bill. Some of them have interjected and intermediated evictions for folks before the program was created. Some of them have gone out to the jails and been the advocates in the jailhouse and with the sheriff's office before the program was created. And so it's really important that we really frame this conversation correctly, because I believe we have the right voices at the table. And y'all pray my strength in the Lord, because my voice got about 20 minutes on it. But I'm gonna make sure that our guests get a chance to really hone in on the topic today. So without any further ado, I want to welcome some community folks that I've had the pleasure of working with, that I know have the street cred, have the longevity, have the generational roots, and can have this conversation. So welcome today. We have Dwayne Barnes, Didi in the street. Y'all, we've had the opportunity to work with him on numerous occasions, particularly over in the Hopfield Sunrise apartment area in South City, working with the residents, translating opportunity, distributing resources, working alongside the Boys and Girls Club, just doing the work, ain't no headline, just doing the work, right? And so we're glad to have you here. We also have, who needs no introduction as well, Mr. Darian Davis, the executive director and founder of Link Up Tally, whose work is not focused on being sexy in front of the cameras, but working right within the apartment complexes within our community. He don't have a front office with a shiny window. He works out of trailers and out of room spaces that are provided to him within low to very low income apartment complexes and communities, with a target focus at reaching youth and reaching families through youth and helping them see the possibilities and acquire resources in his work. Just awesome. Did I say that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I hope so. Listen, and definitely the final guest, she don't need no introduction to nobody. This woman has been around since the inception of community development, since it became sexy. She was on the Frenchtown Governor's Revitalization Council. She, along with her cohorts and support at Florida A&M, were able to pull down millions of resources to focus on the revitalization and stabilization of the Frenchtown community back in the day. And I mean, this is like 30, 40, I ain't dating you. It's like 30, 40 years ago. And we have children who are now in public health spaces because of the work that Miss Miasha Mitchell has done. Miss M. Miasha Mitchell, because the M is a strong M. You got to make sure you say that M, because that's the name her mama gave her. And and she currently continues that work with the Frenchtown Governor's Revitalization Council within the framework of the goals of that initiative within the Frenchtown community. Also, she has founded numerous and partnered to magnify and amplify numerous initiatives that benefit that community still. One of them being the longstanding Tallahassee Food Network, which she's always talking to me about food and letting food be my healer. So she has a very good tenure in that space, but most importantly, being a very celebrated figure within the community on the university, state, local, and national level, having trained and produced some of the most powerful public health students, public health workers in the nation in activation. So I think we have a pretty good panel of folks that can give us some perspective on authentic community engagement. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
All right. If you are listening, and I encourage you to listen, if you're somebody that cares about community, you have a community initiative, you do community work, you're interested in figuring out what works on the community level, but specifically within communities of color, beloved communities, I invite you to join in the conversation. Ask questions. You can call the line 850-671-1450 if you have a question you'd like to ask on the air. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's conversation. So let's get into it. What does trust look like on the ground level? And anybody can jump in on that. What does it look like?
Trust on the ground level. I think it looks like that's a strong word too. Trust.
Trust.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I got trust issues.
Yeah.
But I guess it's being open. You got to be open and like you said, authentic. You know, authenticity is key to trust. You know, it opens people up when they see you as an authentic, caring, naturally caring individual. You have to have some relativity. You have to have a heart for what you do. spoke LaShawn Gordon. She always says it's a heart issue with what we do. And I take that to heart because it is. You're not going to effectively impact anyone or anything unless you're hard into it. And I think that's where we have a real issue when it comes to trust and community trust in our city, because a lot of people just show up for the sexy cameras that look good on the camera or during election time, you know. As we all three of us can validate from working in the communities that we do, one thing that we always hear from those residents of the community is how they don't see anyone until a certain time, you know, whereas it's time or grant time or things of that nature, you know. So it starts there with the authenticity and the heart matter. You have to show that if you want somebody to open up their heart to you. Yeah.
It's like you say, transparency. For me, it works because unless you're really able to authentically define who you are and people can see who you are, it's very hard to establish trust.
Yes.
And people think you do it overnight. So we have programs and things that come in and they want to do it in 60 days or a year, and you haven't even built a relationship.
Yeah.
So building a relationship is the basis and fundamental of making sure you're trustworthy, a trusting, collaborative, a partner, a friend, a family member, whatever.
And my point of view, I want to add on to both of theirs, is mostly communication. You know, the communication that you build with a person, you know, when you talk to a person, you're going to know, you know, if it's an agenda. You know, is it genuine, or you planning something, or, you know, or just is you being honest? You know what I'm saying? So the trust with me comes with how a person communicates with me, you know, because, you know, I've grown up communicating with a lot of different people on a lot of different aspects. So from workforce to the streets, the trust level's different. You know, they're not all the same. So you got to understand when a person is taking a good value of your time. First of all, you know, if I'm communicating with a person, I need to understand. You know, be should we say on the street 100 enough with me to be honest with you. If you want me to trust you, and I'm gonna be the same, so you can trust me. And I think once you build off of that good communication, the rest comes. And, you know, it ain't no overnight success to opening up and trusting, you know what I'm saying? This communities don't trust the police because how they interact, how they communicate, you know, so it's all in hand, you know. Police don't trust the community because of how sometimes we interact and how we communicate. So it's all about communication to me and respect.
I think that's a really good point, right? Because it ties in the other points, right? You don't get from, you know, what I believe scripturally says is what proceeds out of the heart, right? That's what's true, right? That's who you are. You know, it comes from the heart. And what you're saying is what's coming from the heart, from the systems, ain't necessarily being received in a certain in the way that you want it to be received. I want to kind of stay there because when we talk about engagement, as we know, it's evolved into a framework and a rubric and a job. And you have people whose job is community engagement, right? And sometimes these folks are working from frameworks and systems of engagement that may be standardized, right? But we know that standardization does not exist on our community level. You can't come to Frenchtown the same way you go to Macon, the same way you go to South in neighbors in Southside. So let's talk about that, right? Because I think that that's the key when we're talking about community and resources and impact. Because if you don't communicate well, people don't want what you got.
Well, you know, that's for me very important because you say reciprocity. You know, if what goes around comes around. So, you reap what you sow kind of thing.
Mhm.
So when you are able to live in a community and communicating with people and they know you're your authentic self, it builds a relationship. And when you build relationships, you can get long-lasting types of engagement for people. Help them to build their capacity and things of that nature. Help them to be able to move up in life they want to, or go parallel, or whichever they want. Because of resources, so leveraging resources, I think, is probably the bottom line, which most times community gets rattled by that, because we don't always think we're getting the same level of resources and support for the things that we do in our community.
Okay, so explain that a little bit further, because what you're saying is that people are bringing resources to the community that may already be there and not at the level that they need to be.
Or to not assume that we need certain things and you haven't even talked to me.
Yes.
That's really the deal.
Yes.
Folks will come in, they want to bring all kinds of stuff. We talked about this there, high appointments to feel the people out. They may not want what you have.
Yeah.
Not that it's to be disrespectful, but it's just that I need this and you bring me that. It's not gonna work.
Right.
Yes, you that's where the relativity comes in. That's where the community trust is built upon. You got to have an ear to know what's needed over there. You got to know, like you said, you can't go into Frenchtown and come with the same thing and that you did in Macon or on the South Side. That's where you have to learn to evolve. Standardization doesn't work, especially when the times are evolving. I can go back to just 5 years ago. Some things that's going on now wasn't going on. The crime rate is getting higher every year, while the age is getting lower every year, and so we have to learn to go into those communities. That's why I do the hard work that I do. I have a heart because we come from those communities. You have to have that heart to stay in those communities, especially when you got family and things of that nature. You can't just come to visit your family and have that high nose up, because it's not going to work. Your nose up, then you breathing over people. You understand? And you're not breathing and sharing the same air. You got to look at things in its simplest of form, And guess what? Those residents in those communities sense that.
Yeah.
They can sense where you think you're high and mighty. I used to get criticized about how I come to certain things and I'm dressed. I'm not. But I relate to who I relate to. The Bible, God. God made us for certain assignments. We're assigned to certain people. You get what I'm saying? We have different assignments. That's why we all have to bring together, hence link up. That's why you're supposed to bring that stuff together so you can touch everybody in different ways. If they don't see it, if they don't know it, or you don't know it, how you know what you're going to give them? How you know what they need? You're missing, and everybody's missing, and that's where how can I say it? That's what the disconnect is. That's where you have certain things going on. Like, I'm not going to throw no stones. I'm just going to be 100. I'm going to be real. We have a lot of farm chefs dropping off a lot of the foods and things going on. Okay, but we coming into this community, and these mothers young, with young kids.
Right.
How many of them cooking roasts that we dropping off? You understand? How many of them know the time it takes to cook those black eyed peas that got to soak in water first? They don't know that type of stuff. So you're completely missing everybody over here, except for, the elders that stay over here. You have to be direct, and that's where we're falling apart with the engagement aspect. If you're direct to who you're serving, that's how you serve them. If not, then you miss it, and you're just doing something. So we have to let go of that standardized way of thinking. We have to let go of, the same run of the mill. Some of that stuff works because you have some people who still stay in those communities, but you have to change the mindset, because the mindset from when we grew up in the projects was to get out. Now the mindset is to stay there, come up, to reap the benefits of the government. You got let's just be honest about
Let's
it.
have a real conversation.
Yeah. So we have to have that openness and that willingness. It's a hard matter.
Like you say, with the standard, everybody don't, especially when it ain't even got to be from neighborhood to neighborhood. It's almost from street to street.
Okay.
Some people don't have the same standard. You know what I'm saying? But when you're trying to bridge communities, and that's what engagement from my point of view is, when you trying to bridge something. And you're trying to bridge communities from one side of town to another, you know, to try to diffuse or help whatever the situations that could be within that city. You know, the one thing that could always bridge people, and I think what we got out of, for the most part, is understanding where love come from. You know, because love, crossing that bridge, the only thing what's going to let you come to another side, they gotta love you. You know, you gotta love them. And that's the idea of, I don't necessarily put myself in no certain side of town in Tallahassee, because I kind of grew up everywhere. I kind of know everybody. So I lived in Atlanta for 20 years, and a lot of people in Atlanta were pretty familiar with Tallahassee, and everybody that I met, once I finished culinary school, everybody I met was like, well, what side of town you from in Tallahassee? And I was like, I'm just from Tallahassee. Now, if you don't talk to me about whatever side, I probably could relate it to you, but me in general, I'm from Tallahassee. And I done crossed all them bridges into all the neighborhoods and created relationships with people in other neighborhoods. So when you're trying to create bridges, they got to understand, let's try to love one another. Get on. That's one thing of relevance that we can all come to, that's not hard to stand up together for, if you for real with it, like you say, with communication,
Right.
being authentic and genuine with yourself, you know, you'll receive the same thing.
Yeah.
And as these bridges build, the communities get better. And then we know, like Miss
Mitchell,
like Miss Mitchell said, you'll know what this community needs. You won't be bringing stuff to this community that don't need them things. You know what I'm saying? So when you're crossing bridges, you definitely can't put a standard on where you're going. You know, you just gotta, like Darren said, I almost called him fraud. But like Darren said, it gotta be a heart problem. So when you're going off into another person's area or neighborhood, you gotta understand, you know, you're going over there in good faith. You know, because the faith and the love is gonna all come together, because I'm sure all of us got strong faith. That's why we doing this work, because we looking for some love to come up out of it.
That's right. That's right. If you are listening to the broadcast, this is the Greg James Community Show. You can chime in. We're having a really important discussion on engagement and authenticity. You can call the hotline at 850-671-1450, or you can join us on the live stream over at Hallelujah 95.3 FM on Facebook, and you can place your comments there. I think y'all are hitting on some really good points as we kind of think through trust and communication, because somebody that's trying to build trust understands these things. But I think the issue at hand with all that's going on in the world is that effective engagement is either going to make or break our communities.
Yes.
And I don't know that people understand the commoditization of outreach and engagement. But in this juncture, with everything being so data focused and data centered, it is even more critical for people who have long-standing understanding of community to ensure that the correct metrics are being applied to those communities so that the correct impact can happen within the community context, correct?
Right.
So I think the hard work, the mission work, the things that we know we're translating into the volunteer and the community work that we do. But now it's a different level, right? Where if we don't have those systems of engagement together that can effectively communicate and translate opportunity, what I call opportunity ecosystem, is a big word, the good stuff, right? Opportunities with good stuff, then people are gonna literally miss out. And so let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because you're right. Things change. Every generation, it gets different. Crime gets younger. Mindsets change. You go from the housing being something that's temporary till you get the stability to housing being your stability, right? You have difference and that's the reason why when people come to legacy communities, they say, ain't that changed? No, something has changed. It's just the impact shifted and you didn't shift your approach.
Right.
Is that the truth?
Yes.
Come with the same name.
Yes.
It's called stagnant.
Stagnation happens. Can I just say something about that? Because you resonated with me on that part. So oftentimes when people do enter into our community, I remember reading a book years ago, When and How I Enter, Where and How I Enter a Community. Because oftentimes where we enter is the first impression. We always know that. But then if you enter into a way that people are not going to recognize and respect you, then that's the whole element of trust that you have to do that. What I've watched though some of the years has been that folks will come in and then they have an assignment that they want to get done. And then they'll come to our community and I say, could you answer a few questions for us? So we have to answer questions. We don't always mind doing that. But then the other thing is that now you got to go find some people for them to come to talk to. So this outreach thing, when you say commoditization of outreach, this is where the line is drawn because oftentimes we do the work because the people come in who have the money and they say, can you help us out? You know, so we go get all those people you got, they everywhere. We can choose up in vans, take them all over the place, you know, so they can have some activity and other funds going up everywhere else. And yet we maybe can be a partner at some point, but not an authentic partner. Because partnership is bigger than just having somebody, give you a card because you can also people to get some food and have a talk. That's the story. And outreach is critical. It needs to be paid. And I'll talk about that later. I don't want to get too much, but I get so excited when I hear about community health workers. Now finally being able to be paid for doing the work y'all been doing all these years. You're ambassadors in community, but people get paid for that. Big time.
Y'all don't see my facial expressions on the radio. They do. And I think that as you're having this conversation and as somebody who's written grants and written people in grants, because I understand the need for fiscal partnership. It ain't always logo partnership. There needs to be some accommodation for the activation of your legitimacy within the context of what I'm trying to accomplish in that community, right? But we don't tend to ask for that because people with a heart for community just want to see the community benefit. But I think that we've got to begin to train folks on how, because the game done changed. The game done changed on the neighborhood level, but the game done changed on the outreach level too, right? Because there's value there. You know, if we don't understand that, we need to be looking at social media and why they're paying people or monetizing people's Facebook posts and paying people for that. Why? Because they understand the value of outreach. They know what it feeds into under their system. So when we're talking about our communities, what kind of engagement, and you can speak to this and anybody else that feels led, when has it worked?
When does it work?
When has it worked?
When has it worked?
Okay.
I think
When has it been effective?
I think if you're going about it the right way and like Darren say, if you got your heart in it, whatever
But
you
give some
do,
examples. Okay.
No, I'm gonna give you an example.
Okay.
But whenever you do it, I feel that it works. You know, it's the duration.
Okay.
What gets me, it's like, anything that you're doing, and if you're doing it for real, as long as you're doing it, it works from my perspective. Not saying that, it's a little different than, like Ms. Mitchell say, giving us some things that we don't necessarily need, From my perspective, when you got younger kids see you doing that, and it goes a long way, it carries on, it works. And not to say that you got to be there every day. There could be a time frame that kid say, oh, I remember this, or I remember that. I remember Darren taking us to picking us up, taking us to the skating rink, and not to say you got to do that every month or every week, but that time frame and that time spent, it works. So with me, it's all about the duration. You know, for example,
Yeah.
you know this. You know, I lived in Atlanta, and I had for a period of time, you know, I was able to every Sunday, you know, start a Unity in the community event every Sunday, softball, baseball, big cookout, and you know, and it turned out to be something big. But like how you say, I didn't know how to communicate with a lot of other people that probably could have helped me with the resources to continue it.
Right. Okay.
But
Okay.
when it's really coming out of my pocket as a whole, you know, every Sunday for a year and a half, that's a lot of money coming out of my household. But I'm not looking at it like that because my heart is into it. And not to say
This
that,
is real.
not to say that, you know, like you say, if I was able to understand how to link up, you know, and maybe that could be something that could come about again, because some people could remember that and say, man, I'm going to such and such Capitol Park. Well, it was every Sunday, and it went well, and it was nice. It was no problem. But the kids that was 2020, 2021. So you got kids that was 10 then, 14, 15 years old now. They still remember that.
Sure.
So even though it didn't have a long duration on it, it's all about just doing it.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, it's consistency. You have to be consistency. So you ask the question, when has it worked? I don't got no problem with being honest. I'm gonna tell you the truth, it ain't worked in a while because we don't have that consistency. We don't have that care. You know, I had left town, moved away for about a year and some change. Nobody knew this, but the kids knew. They were affected by it. Yeah, I just, a lot of people say, oh, you like to try to do it by yourself. You can't do it all by yourself. But no, you got to safeguard some things. You understand? Like, so if I'm doing it out my pocket, for one, I'm not going to plan because I'm doing God's work, for one. I'm doing what he purposed me for. So that's my mission. So I'm going to stick to that. And that's something you got to safeguard because we have where you got the ones who get the funding. You understand? And you have a lot of people who aspire to do this kind of work. But when you have those individuals who get all the funding, those leaders, so to speak, and you watching what they do with the money, and it's not benefiting where you're serving, it's not enhancing the life of the kids, and you got it to where you could just throw a check over here. I could do a minimal sponsorship and just throw some food or throw some over here in engagement instead of, I always tell people I want some time. That's what they need. That's what they need. They need time. They need face. They need somebody to talk to them. You know what I'm saying? They have a lot of venting to do. I know. I was one of those kids. We grew up with those same disparities. And so when you have more getting money, more coming in the office with that lack of care, that lack of relativity, that lack of engagement or relationship building, you have people who come in and see, oh, well, I don't have to do nothing. I could just write this grant up or get somebody to write me a grant, get this money, do an event. And that's that. And we have to understand it's take more than an event. If you're going to do an event, make it consistent. Like bro doing with the softball thing. But we could see the haircutting, back to school thing we was doing in the projects, the Halloween party and the movie nights and things of that nature, that really affects and impact those kids to the point where I was forced to move that. Because every time I come to visit, Mr. David, when you gonna pick us up? Stuff like that. And you can't lean on individuals with the money. You can't just chase it. I got y'all. Because you see when it ain't nobody filling that gap. And so that gap just get wider. And now them same ones that was 10, who 14, 15 now, they in the streets. They flagging now. These daughters, these young girls getting pregnant and having babies when they were focus on just being kids. You gotta allow them to be kids. They're growing up and exposed to way more than we were. So you gotta see how quick they're growing up, how quick they're engaging in all kind of foolishness. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't even a thing of being fast no more. That's just the way of life for them.
Yeah.
Because it's not that consistency to show them something else. It's not that consistency to allow them to be kids. You don't have the engagement. Back in the 90s, we had Officer Boy and all of you remember that? You could come around and play football in the projects with the kids, shoot a little basketball. How you gonna have a relative with a officer or law enforcement who won't never come out his uniform? He won't never engage. If he's serving in this area, this his zone. I don't care if it's for one day out the week. He need to build some rapport over there. That's where the disconnect. We have a lot of disconnect because it seems to be a game, and the only ones who really losing are the ones affected by it, the ones living in it, the ones who need it. We got to change the trajectory some kind of way, and the only way that's going to happen is with true consistency, with something that's going on constantly for these kids. I mean, you know, I'll be honest. I feel like it's new alliances that's needed. You got to bring different groups together, different groups of people. It ain't going to be with those in office and things of that nature. They only care when it's time to run.
And I'm gonna piggyback on that, because majority of everything I learned, you know, as far as back in the days, I probably threw a lot of cookouts or whatever for people just hanging out. But when it comes to ideally trying to make a difference, when I initially first ideally seen it going on, it wasn't here in Tallahassee. Like I said, I stayed in Atlanta 17 years, and I had friends in rough neighborhoods, and they took care of their neighborhoods. Like, they took care of their neighborhoods. So when I started seeing that, and I would come down here, I would try to implement the same thing. But one thing I did notice what was different in the city compared to Tallahassee, like Brother Dan said, the leaders was true leaders. The pastors, they ain't hold no judgment. They communicated, built relationships, and formed their bond for them communities. You know what I'm saying? And some of the pastors that I don't see are the ones that I be thinking them the ones I need to see, and some of the ones that I do see be the ones too I feel like it's a game, you know, because I'm in the neighborhoods and I don't see y'all, but I can see you in front, like you say, I can see you in front of the sexy, but I don't see you in the dirt. You know what I'm saying? So it's the lack of, like you say, we don't have that bridge, and it ain't just the bridge from community to community. It's the bridge from person to person. You know what I'm saying? So it's Tallahassee trying to get the wheels spinning, but considering the people that, you know, I'm about to be 56 years old. So I know it's a lot of men out here in Tallahassee who got the drive, but don't see the people that they do see in the front lines. They don't have faith in that. You know what I'm saying? So they hold back. They don't do nothing. And a lot of people that want to do stuff have to be pushed. And I'm gonna say, for instance, in Hollyfield, when we was doing the haircuts, you probably ain't know this, but yeah, all the legits out there doing their little thing. I went around, boy, y'all gonna donate for these kids to get whatever we need to get, cook out, all that. Because if you don't have nobody to push them, they don't know what it feels like to give back. Even though they might be doing the wrong thing, but in their mind and in their heart, they see real OGs doing their thing. Yeah. They want to follow that same suit because that's what they know, what they see.
Yeah, that's why they're the influence.
Exactly. So when you push them to, hey, let's start doing this, that, and the other, they get a gravitation to, okay, well, this is what I can also do. even though I might be doing this, but this is what I also can do. And that's where the gap come at in the bridges
Yeah.
with the people who getting the resources, not connecting with the right people in the neighborhood to make sure that, like Ms. Mitchell say, we getting what we need. You're not just giving us something that we already have.
So what I hear, and Miss,
And yeah, I wanted to mention something that you all said earlier about just events, you know, how that can really get people in a habit of just come showing up. The one thing that's other side of community engagement is organizing.
mhm,
So oftentimes we do a lot, and you mentioned burnout. It sounds like you were burnt out, so you had to leave town to get some rest. What brought that on? Because there's a gap there somewhere that leads to what we talk about now, community engagement. So you couldn't handle it. Now that's the kind of thing you need to have a story around. What was it that led you to leave out? Because burnout is a real thing when you're out here doing this work and you're not being either recognized for it or compensated for it. Not that you're looking for that, but it takes money to feed children, to buy gas, to pick them up, and take care of parents, and do the things that they need outside of what you see. You know, parents need rent money, they need to pay their utility bills, so you got to go in your pocket and get those things. I've never been there, done that. So I'm saying that one of the main things is that how we organize, you know, formally to help our young people understand their roles in the public life, not just at home, because they get away with a lot of things at home. But when you go out into public, you have to act a different way. You can't act the same way. Because a mom and every uncle, they're going to love you no matter what you do. But if you go out there to public and act up, you're going to go to jail. You pay the consequences, right? So this is the kind of thing, that kind of love in education, Saturday school kind of stuff, that you're not going to get in the public schools. They're going to teach you how to love each other, you know, unconditionally. They're not going to teach you how to respect each other for their level of knowledge. You mentioned that. You talk about that because you live in the hood. I mean, you don't know. You got something that they're looking for when they come into you to ask you to support. So claim your knowledge base, you know, and don't shy away from that because that is where the expertise lies in your own experiences. So your experience about burnout probably is a worthy story. It sounds just so great.
I'll speak on that because it wasn't the work. It wasn't the fun. See, one thing about doing God work I've realized and I've learned is when you stay obedient, He gonna always make a way. That's trusting Him.
You know that.
He's gonna always. He's opened up doors that I never thought I'd be in. I didn't even try to get through. I had people shaking my hand who I never aspired to them shaking my hand. It's the fakeness. I'm gonna be honest.
okay, wait a minute. The what now?
The fakeness.
He said fake.
The phoniness.
The phoniness.
I got tired of taking, you know, when I'm doing
Tired of taking
things.
pictures.
That ain't me. Listen, I started as that drug dealer. I started as that, and I'm still the same street head. To be honest, I'm not doing the dirt, but I'm still in the trenches because that's what is needed at. That's why I grew. That's my people. That's who I relate to. That's who need me. So if you're gonna reach out to me because you see what I'm doing over here, don't do it just to come out and take a picture. I don't want to throw no events for you to come and take no picture with me. Half the time I don't like those type of folk. I don't like fake stuff. I stay away from it. I don't wear fake jewelry. I don't wear fake brands. None of that. You understand? Like if that don't do nothing but create more of the feed into fakeness, which is why fake is the new real. Like we say, orange is the new black. How? When black already a color, orange was already a color. What you mixing with orange to make it black? It ain't orange just drop by itself and become a black. We got to stay authentic.
Yes.
You understand? And so that's what really
Makes it
I had to get away from that.
fakeness.
Because they don't care for it. That's how I started feeling. I'm watching more and more of how everybody reaching for daring to link up and saying they want to link up, but ain't coming over here except for to take a picture. That's why I stopped posting what I do. That's why I strategically set and start doing things a whole nother way, because I don't want nobody to know what I'm doing if you ain't gonna benefit who need it. They need it. It's not a game where I come from. It might be a game to them because they playing this money and numbers thing. It's not about that to me. And if you really want numbers, they come into the project. There's a whole bunch of numbers in the project, thousands.
And then, like you say, it's the social media game. And like how you say, they know you can crunch numbers behind it. So you open that door when you post whatever you're doing, because you got lurkers. They gonna lurk, because I've done a lot of stuff. At a minimum, I'll post something. But if you're not actually right there at it, you won't even, if you in the streets and the communities, yeah, you'll hear about it. But if you not actually at the event, you'll never know who sponsored it unless you there. You know, and because like Frog say, I don't even want to draw that. Cause with me being in one city and see how it comes, and coming to a city and see how it's trying to get the ball rolling, you know, I already know in the pot it's gonna be a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but what's gonna have true, like you say, what's gonna have true heart behind the issues that we trying to solve, you know? And if you ain't got the true heart behind it, you know, I don't really need you hanging around me trying to get no photo. I don't even take photo ops. I really don't, you know what I'm saying? I really don't. You know, I take photo out with me and Frog in the hood when we do something, because that's just something we keep between each other, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, when the social media get hold of some stuff, you know, it get overblown. But a lot of people, that's what they grasp for, because like you say, it's a cash cow to it.
So let me stay here, right? Because let's talk about reality. Basketball game, football game, flag football or pickup football game at 4th Avenue. 200 men, young boys gathering together. I got a community initiative that's funded to reach Black men. Funded at $200,000. I can't reach the Black men this initiative has been written to reach. But there's a link up game where there's 200 Black men and boys at the game. I don't think you get upset about the photo op if the photo op creates opportunity for the people you're reaching.
Yeah, that's why I say me and Frog will take a photo.
I don't think you get fatigued on phoniness if you can see where the resources are going to help and undergird the efforts that you're doing. I don't think you. So I don't want our audience to miss. Okay, I don't want us to miss that.
That's what the problem is.
Because I don't want them to miss it.
If the resource is not getting in the right hands, it's back to like Ms. Mitchell say, you're not really getting the right type of help you need. And it's like Frog say, it's like some people do it just to get the resources, do one big event, and boom, what you got after that? And these kids steady looking for something on the next day. You know, we got microwave kids nowadays. So if you getting resources, it's all about how you distribute it. You know what I'm saying? And if you a person that, like Frog say, you got love in it, you gonna, you know, what we do on our own out of our pocket, that's what God pushed us to do. So we ain't looking. But when a person come to you, you looking to see if y'all got that same energy. So if you getting resources, yeah, I'd rather get them working with you, Miss Henry, Miss Christie, than getting it from the actual person, because I can trust in where you coming from. I can't trust in and it could be 200,000, and I'm the type of guy I would want to get that to the resources to the people, but I would like to have some type of communication trustworthy, because I don't, you know, I don't go to church all the time. I got certain religions, you know, I don't take money from everybody. You know what I'm saying? I gotta have an understanding with you, you know what I'm saying? And make sure we all on the same page. Because if not, then this will be going to the wayside before it even got to where it's supposed to be going.
So Ms. Waisha, I wanna dive in. He said, I want time consistency.
That's right.
I want durability, duration. It's kind of the same conversation, right?
It sure is.
What you have that gets funded with national systems, Boys and Girls Clubs, different organizations, Girl Scouts, these things that have national monoliths, they have standardized approach to impact to young people. But then you have grassroots efforts that are within targeted communities that are experiencing many of the issues that communities are trying to address. How do you meet in the middle of impact, right? Because they all ain't going to the Boys and Girls Club, right? We want them to, it's there for them, but it doesn't fit a round peg in a square hole, you know what I'm saying? How does it fit? Because I think the issue is standardization, right? When it comes to resources
Well,
on the
that's part of it.
on the level of bureaucracy,
Right.
But how do you get the 12th floor? How do you get the first floor to the 6th floor from the 12th floor? Because the 12th floor want to see it done a certain way. The 6th floor responsible for communicating impact, and the first floor is responsible for actually
Holding it up.
doing the work, right?
Yeah.
How do you pull those things together so that all the things that are particular within the context of authenticity and community gets what they need to do what they do to create the ecosystem of opportunity that's needed to change and transition?
It is a long haul.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
You ready to be tired?
It's called work.
No.
And who want to pay for the work?
But-
That's the story.
And who's gonna pay for it?
Yeah,
Who's
exactly.
committed to the
Somebody
resource? Because that's
It's
commitment
somebody gonna call.
to national organizations. They got
It's gonna cost.
lobbies. They got
But they say this,
people.
They don't know how to collaborate. They don't know how to partner.
Okay.
They don't know how to leverage resources. And all the things we talk about community engagement, they're principles. Those are practices that you can follow every day. And if you did those and put those in place, then you have this hierarchical need kind of thing all squashed. It's like
Oh,
people on the same level, same page kind of thing that he's talking about. Once you get there, but you have to find a way to organize around that, because people, it takes time. It takes mentorship. It takes young people to get involved. It takes the seniors to get involved, the middle-aged young men to get involved, to set the examples.
Yeah.
Somebody pays for that time.
somebody pays for it.
Somebody. But
It's value. It has value.
Now, what I see is some at the larger level organizations who've been around for a while. I've had stories about, some places where it's supposed to be funded for the kids in the community, but the kids in the community don't know that. And there's no, you can't tell that there's a subject or anything that they can get education or they get the resources from that space. Because again, whatever those resources are, they're like Greg's, what's the Greg over at the Gage Street used to say?
Oh, Mr. Grady.
Mr. Greg.
Greg, not Miss Gregory,
Mr. Grady.
Mr. Grady.
Oh, great.
Grady. Yeah, he said you had to go down and get to the doors and bring people down. You gotta bring them in.
Yeah.
And you don't have that type of caring anymore, of expression of love that we have for our
Yes.
children. They're all latchkey kids now. We never had latchkey children. So you get all these factors that go to what you're saying with kids getting in trouble and getting pregnant now. Those numbers are going up. They have not gone
They're going
down. Everything is still 2 times more, 3
Yes.
times more.
Yes.
Everything you can now, and you say that you put money in our community, $35-50 million in our community, Griffin Heights and Bond and all those. Oh, so what happened? Show me the money. Show me how the money is spent, because a lot of it gets caught up in administration, infrastructure, and then and salaries, personnel. So the encouragement is to go that route. To go to the route of hiring people for a season, could be 6 months, 9 months, a year, and lucky if you get 2 to get something happening. But by the second year, you just have to get started with your people. Ain't nothing you can do in the first year other than go out and shake hands and let them know who you are and trust that you're gonna be there the next day. Because they'll wait.
And trust.
They'll wait till the last day to show up because you've been there a whole year. But they won't necessarily always show up because they figure you're gonna leave. It's called abandonment. Folks are scared again. We keep having these people coming in, they build you up for 2 years, they take their money and they run. there's a story that Dr. King with Dorothy Carton used to talk about. So you call yourself a partner, so you're a partner for a day, but when all the money goes away, we're happy to the partner. Is it fly away too? You know, that kind of thing. So what happens? So you call me partner now because you got some money, you got a task you got to do. It ain't gonna last for long because it's an activity. It's just, I mean, the activities are great, don't get me wrong. But when you start pushing that as the way to do it, you have to be an organized, dedicated, strategic focus to get our people to think the mindset. What it means for me to be a citizen, a true citizen, accountable for my actions. You have to teach that because they're not getting it. They figure they can get away with it and go sit in the jail and get 3 meals a day.
And get stripes. See, that's what
Yeah,
we're
that's
moving
right.
at. That's stripes where we come from.
That's right.
You get stripes, you get street cred building and stuff like that off of that footage. So we gotta teach them something different. Sometimes you gotta eliminate the middleman because the middleman trying to get what they can get up out of. Go straight to the source. Sometimes it's not always good. The 12th, what did you say? The 12th floor, the 6th floor, and the first floor. If you could recognize that person on the first floor from the 12th floor,
Right.
then go straight to them. What you got to go to the 6th floor for? If you the top dog
Go to the
and you recognize them, that elevator goes straight down there. Guess what? Because you got to come through that same door to get to the elevator that's taking you up. You got to recognize those.
It's all the same bill.
Well, those people ain't
It's
doing
all-
their job though. The people in the middle ain't doing this. So somebody
And you
got
have
to
a
be
lot of
corrected. Then you have to check accountability.
Mhm.
What
That-
it is
that
you're
go
supposed
back
to
to my
be
point.
doing. You know,
I don't take
what
money
your
from
goal
everybody.
says.
I gotta know you on the same page. Because like you
Right.
say, that middleman, you know, my first thing and first about the communication is like your agenda. You know, your agenda tells me everything what I need to know about you. You know, how you finna move, how you finna operate. That's gonna let me know do I want to be involved with you or not? You know what I'm saying? Because like you say, it's not just one person on that 12th floor. You know, so you know, it's all about making sure you get linked up with the right person. You know what I'm saying? In my perspective, you know what I'm saying? Because if I want to do something right, I want to make sure it got longevity. I don't need nothing to hit me on the back end.
So I wanna bring some really good connection to this conversation because we've said a lot. And listen, the chat is blowing up. Jason Jefferson, Papa Allens, Miss Shirley Pittman, y'all, Lacanthia, y'all are blowing it up. But listen, this is a conversation whose time has come. Because I think that if we don't move forward on systemizing outreach in a way that breeds authentic impact, we're going to continue to have the same conversation 10 years from now and wonder where the 10 million went for this, where the 1.5 million went for this,
Right.
what an employee. Because let's have a real conversation about agendas in organizations. It makes sense for them to be there only if they're working with those who are there, because they're going to leave.
We still doing.
And we're going to still be there. But systems are there to perpetuate for the generations to be able to have access to the ecosystem of opportunity within the communities. And I'm not going to put organizations and agencies out there on that. That's our red wagon. It's our red to demand it, to hold sources accountable to it. You're going to come here. This is the ecosystem of impact and outreach that works here. This is who we're, as a community, want to see receive the necessary resource, aka money, funding, whatever, time, training. That's also a resource to be able to effectively get to the outcome that you're proposing. Because if not, you're going to be calling, and Miss Maisha, you got people gone. And the same thing they fought for when they were here ain't been done. They're gone. And the same problems have evolved and changed, and the generational mindset have evolved and changed. This is a conversation whose time has come I promise everybody who is blowing up the chat that we're going to have this conversation in person. All right? And we're going to do it small or we're going to do it moderate, but we're going to do it authentically because this is how we get it done for our neighbors. When there's an opportunity of ecosystem where we can get people through trust relationships to their tables, wherever that is, the housing table, the employment table, the health table, the investment table. If we work with our ecosystems of trust with the community to bring people to those tables, we can then take them through your process and your system, guided by a trusted navigational portal or port. And that's what we have to do because we're not going to see impact and things are changing. The way they're going to be doing housing is changing. The way public benefits are going to be disseminated is changing. The way it's changing and folks are going to be left out in the cold. And what's going to happen? Crime, survival, at fever pitch. Listen, this is a conversation whose time has truly come. We invite you, if you're listening, please join in. Let us know if you're down. We are ready to sit down and really talk this through. Ms. Mitchell has the ability to translate these type of things into actual pivotal frameworks to be able to present to agency entities on this is how you approach our communities. This is how you approach these places. And we have got to do this. We have to. Any final thoughts before we close today?
I just want to say to people out there listening, the best thing to start a change is in your household, with your own family. You got kids, make sure they get educated, because that's what's going to make the difference. Money, you can feed money to a well, but if you're not educated, it won't make a difference. And if we got any youngins out there listening, I would say this, they got the laws. They got the laws made to where you can go out and 18 or 21, you can go buy a pistol nowadays and whatnot. But put down the pistol and take the time to go fill out a voter's registration card. The young generation, soon you 18, go fill out a voter registration card. If you want to be dangerous, that's the best way to be dangerous. Go soon you turn 18. And to the families out there, if you got an 18-year-old living in your house and you ain't took them to go get registered to vote, and ain't explained to them to understand how they can change their future through voting, I would say shame on you.
I want to add to that point. You're saying how voting is important. A lot of times people talk about, well, I don't do politics. Well, everybody does politics every day in your house. Your kid be playing us all the time. You ask mama for something. You say nothing, around the corner and ask daddy.
Okay.
So that's politics. So they had to negotiate and come back and forth. So you said, daddy said this, mama said this. They get you going. So that's a skill set that we have to help them develop, because that in the long range, in terms of the outcome, would be an engaged citizen who not only can vote, but can think and do politics in their own critical mind with their people. Understand that you have to relate to people to get things done.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you don't have a relationship of communication, authenticity, all the things that builds on the whole platform and principles of community engagement, then it's going to be hard for us to even change this scenario. It has to stop. With these fourth graders, that's the pivotal point. So we got to get them to third and start getting them to think about, what does it look like if I was really an active citizen? What would be my role? And teach them those fundamental qualities. It's like we talk about ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and talk about the books of the Bible or whatever you had to learn by the time you get to be a certain age. We had to know all the books of the Bible. That was okay, that's great. How do we make sure they get standardized on certain things? And if you're talking about health and well-being, there's a voice there you have to have, because we are still suffering from all these illnesses and diseases 3 or 4 times, and the prostate cancer is up to 5 to 7 times over other populations. So the things that lung cancer now and colon rectal cancer, If people stop eating red meat, now that we've been saying this for years, for black men, it's the red meat. Colon cancer.
And mercy. And mercy. Final thoughts.
Well, I'm gonna leave my little food for thought around the topic: building community trust and authentic
Yes.
engagement. Just want everybody to think on the point of what Miss Maisha just said about the fourth grader. You don't know, but all you gotta have, an individual gotta have, is a fourth grade education for them to justify sending you to prison.
That's right.
So we got to really hone in on that. We got, if it's a big fight, it's a lot we got to combat. And so this authentic engagement and trust is built. We got to put a lot of things to side because we like to pick who we can use or think of, or relate a message, or think of have the impact. But you got to look at the Most High, Jesus, God, for his disciples. He used murderers, robbers, all of the above. And it created a faith base that we all walk by, that we speak on and teach on.
Respect to the principles.
Exactly. So we gotta cut that respect the person and be open to what's in our community, because when in the community there's all sorts of people. You got drug dealers, you got drug addicts. You know what I'm saying? You got prostitutes, you got kids. You got all that, and those people make up communities. You got law enforcement that stroll the communities all the time. So we have to use everything that we have. We got to learn to rely on one another. And we got to be real. Put all this phoniness, fakeness aside, and let's just get real. Let's be authentic. If that's the definition of it, being real, genuine, we have to. We have to. That's the only thing that's going to build the trust in the community. And you ain't affecting nobody if they don't trust you, because respect goes a long way. And I was taught that when I was a young, before I even stepped in the streets. That's how you can blow up in the streets. It's a lot of things that we got to do if we're going to be a community. We got to act as a community. And love going to change the world. That's the only thing that's going to change it. It's a hard matter, man.
Amen. So what the final thought today, I think collectively, is trust is the currency of progress on our community level. And when we honor people who have held our neighborhoods together for generations, we get better results.
Right.
I want to thank KFR Roofing Solutions for sponsoring this conversation, because this is the kind of conversation that's going to move our community forward. Thank for everyone who is listening to the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to my voice, because I know it probably grates on some of y'all nerves. We'll be here next Wednesday, same time, 2:00 on Wednesday for Wake Up Wednesday. Today was an excellent conversation, but we're going to continue talking Tallahassee, because y'all listen, the future is now. And if you miss it, it's going to be gone in a second. So stay tuned, stay engaged, and please stay prayerful. Thank y'all, and y'all take care. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll see y'all next week.
All right. Thank you.
Great job.
That was powerful.
All
Great
right.
job. I
Listen,
like getting that.
if you tuned in today, boy, go ahead. Look at the comment section. It's blowing up. We thank y'all for tuning in, for the mighty upwards of 15 that tuned in at one time. And we know that our listenership is 15,000 plus people listening to us on the radio. If you have questions, if you want to be a part of the conversation, hit us up. Hit me up directly on Facebook, Christique A. Henry. Don't do Christique Henry. That's a scammer. All right, Christique A. Henry. We'd love to give your voice volume and to elevate your ideas. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll check that out on the next go round.
Come on in. That's right. Well, good to see you guys.
Thanks for the